They said he wasn't built for it. Too skinny, too small, just another two-star recruit who'd never make it past high school ball. He didn't get a call from Duke, didn't get a shot at Kentucky. Instead, he landed at a college so under the radar, most people couldn't even find it on a map. But here's the thing, that kid from Oakland carried something inside him that couldn't be measured. Out on those tough playgrounds where the rule was simple, eat or get eaten, Damian Lillard learned how to fight back. Older kids tried to push him off the court, knock him around, but every time he fell, he stood up stronger. When his brother crossed him up so bad it left him embarrassed, he didn't walk away. He stayed outside until the street lights lit up the court, running the same move over and over until it became his own weapon. And at just 13 years old, he looked his family in the eye and said with a straight face, "I'm going to the NBA. I'll win Rookie of the Year. I'll be an all-star." Everyone laughed like it was just a kid talking big. But Damian Lillard wasn't joking. Deep down, he already knew. High school and early challenges. When Damian Lillard first stepped onto his high school varsity team as a freshman, he wasn't the player anyone expected to change a game. He was barely 5'5", skinny, and often overlooked. By the end of his sophomore year, he had grown to 5'9", but he still wasn't the main guy. Playing time was limited, and at one point, his own coach bluntly told him his chances of ever making it to the NBA were zero. That could have crushed him, but instead, it lit a fire. While he struggled to shine at school, he found a second home with the Oakland Rebels, a local youth club that gave him real minutes on the court. It was there that one unforgettable moment changed everything. The Rebels were the underdogs in a local tournament, matched up against Jared Bayless, a player everyone was already calling the next big thing. Nobody cared about Dame, all eyes were on Bayless. But when the game came down to the final possession, the Rebels trailing by 2, the ball bounced into Lillard's hands. He sprinted behind the arc, rose up with a defender right in his face, and let it fly. Swish! Game winner! He exploded with emotion, and for the first time, the world saw what would later be called Dame time. That single shot didn't just win a game, it planted the first seed of a legend who refused to believe the people who said he couldn't. Lessons from mistakes. The funny thing about Damian Lillard is that today, when he buries a game winner in the NBA, he barely blinks. He's calm, stone-faced, almost cold-blooded, as if he's been there a million times before. But back when he was just a high school junior in that small Oakland gym, it was a totally different story. After sinking the biggest shot of his young life, Dame lost it. He ripped off his jersey, sprinted across the floor, screaming at the top of his lungs like he had just conquered the world. For a split second, it felt like the perfect Hollywood ending, the undersized kid proving everybody wrong with one magical shot. But then reality hit. There were still 2 seconds left on the clock, and when the refs saw him shirtless, they whistled a technical foul. The crowd went silent as Jared Bayless calmly stepped to the free throw line, knocking down both shots. Just like that, the Rebels lost the game. What should have been the best moment of his young career instantly turned into one of the most painful lessons he'd ever learned. Dame walked off the court embarrassed, vowing to himself that no matter how big the moment, he'd never lose control again. And that promise shaped the ice-cold assassin we see in the NBA today. College selection and Weber State. As a senior, Damian Lillard put up 22 points and 5 assists a night, but scouts only saw a 6-foot guard who weighed 165 pounds. The big schools ignored him, and recruiting sites slapped a 2-star label on his name. Just 4 colleges even bothered to offer him a spot. In the end, he chose Weber State, a small school in Utah that almost nobody had heard of, simply because they were the first to believe in him and hand him a scholarship. College performance and injuries. When Damian Lillard first stepped onto the court at Weber State, he wasn't some instant superstar. As a freshman, he put up just 11 points a game, steady, but nothing that turned heads. But by his second season, everything changed. He grew into his game, averaging 20 points and leading the Wildcats to a conference title, even earning Conference Player of the Year. For Dame, it wasn't just about stats. It was about belonging.
My experience at Weber State? I thought it was a great experience. The community accepted me, my coaches stayed true to their word, and the team was really like family. But still, Weber wasn't Duke or Kentucky. Dropping 20 points in a small conference didn't make ESPN highlights, and doubters kept saying he hadn't faced real competition. Even so, in his junior year, Dame kept building momentum, and his name finally started climbing up NBA draft boards. For the first time, the dream felt within reach. And then, disaster hit. Dame broke his foot. Just like that, the season was over. Overnight, his name vanished from the mock drafts. My junior year, I break my foot like right when I thought I was about to enter the draft. I look at the draft boards and my name ain't on there no more. It was crushing. One moment he was on the rise, the next he was forgotten, left to wonder if the dream was slipping away for good.
Recover from injury and improve skills. Most players would have seen that broken foot as the end, a career killer, the moment where the dream of the NBA slips through your fingers for good. But Damian Lillard wasn't like most players. Instead of giving up, the injury lit something inside him. It humbled him, but it also showed him just how much he loved the game. I knew people would doubt me after that, after I broke my foot, because it was already a lot of doubt, because I was coming from a smaller school. I really tried to find things I could help myself with without having to be on the floor. That's when Dame started lifting weights for the first time, building an upper body that could handle the punishment of stronger defenders. From then on, the weight room became part of his life. On top of that, he refused to stop working on his game. Sitting in a chair, he fired up jumper after jumper, forcing himself to add more arc and range. In a walking boot, he still dribbled every day, pounding the ball with one leg until his arms ached. It was painful, it was frustrating, but it was proof of how bad he wanted it. So when the next season tipped off, Dame didn't just return. He came back stronger, with tighter handles, a deeper shot, and a new edge that turned doubt into fuel.
NBA draft and career beginnings. By the time Damian Lillard returned as a redshirt junior, he was unstoppable. He lit up defenses for 24.5 points a game, finishing second in the entire nation in scoring, and picking up another Conference Player of the Year award. Suddenly, the kid nobody wanted was now on every scout's radar. By draft night 2012, the 6'2" guard from tiny Weber State was considered the best point guard in his class. And with the 6th overall pick, the Portland Trail Blazers made it official. The Portland Trail Blazers select Damian Lillard of Weber State University. For Oakland, a city that had already produced legends like Gary Payton and Jason Kidd, this was another chapter. But Dame wasn't loud like Payton. He didn't carry himself like a star. He showed up quiet, head down, focused only on the work. And the work spoke for him. On opening night of his NBA career, he dropped 23 points and 11 assists. No yelling, no chest pounding, just ice in his veins. And that calm fire carried him all year long. He made good on the promise he once gave his mother, winning Rookie of the Year in spectacular fashion. In a draft class stacked with Anthony Davis, Bradley Beal, and Andre Drummond, Lillard stood tallest, becoming only the 8th player ever to sweep every Rookie of the Month award and just the 4th to win Rookie of the Year unanimously. In his very first season, he led all rookies in scoring, assists, minutes, and threes, leaving no doubt that Dame time had officially arrived. Clutch moments and playoff careers. As a sophomore in the league, Damian Lillard's numbers stayed about the same, but his impact on the Portland Trail Blazers grew bigger than anyone expected. He was no longer just a promising rookie. He was an all-star, standing side by side with LaMarcus Aldridge, and together they dragged Portland back into the playoffs. The Blazers hadn't won a playoff series in 14 long years, and in the first round, they ran into the Houston Rockets, a team led by James Harden and Dwight Howard, the heavy favorites. But something special was brewing. After 5 games, Portland led the series 3-2, and suddenly they were one shot away from rewriting their franchise history. Game 6, final seconds. Houston clinging to a 2-point lead with just .9 left on the clock.
Everyone thought the last play was going to Aldridge. He was the veteran, the Blazers' best player. But then, out of nowhere, Damian Lillard slipped free, caught the inbounds pass, and with no hesitation, launched a deep three over Chandler Parsons. Time froze for a moment. The ball arced through the air and dropped clean through the net as the buzzer sounded. The arena exploded. Lillard didn't rip his jersey off like he did as a teenager. He didn't scream or jump around. He just turned, gave a cold, icy stare, and walked it off while his teammates mobbed him. In that instant, Dame wasn't just a young guard anymore, he was a hero. He had delivered one of the most iconic shots in Blazers history. In his first ever playoff series, he averaged 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists, shooting nearly 50% from three. That was the birth of Dame time on the biggest stage. The second round against San Antonio was a reality check. The Spurs, a dynasty in full swing, handled Portland in 5 games. But the message was clear. Damian Lillard belonged. In his third season, Dame's numbers stayed steady, 21 points and 6.5 assists, but Portland faltered in the playoffs and suffered another first-round exit. Then came the turning point. LaMarcus Aldridge, along with 3 other starters, left the team in free agency. Suddenly, Damian was alone. Most people thought the Blazers were finished, that Portland was heading for years of rebuilding. But instead, something new began. With the departures, space opened up for a young guard named C.J. McCollum to step into the spotlight. The 2 guards meshed perfectly. C.J. became a 20-point scorer, and Dame elevated his own game to 25 points and 7 assists tonight. Against all odds, the Blazers didn't collapse, they thrived. They made the playoffs again, and even though they couldn't get past the Golden State Warriors, who were at the peak of their powers, Lillard showed he could go toe-to-toe with anyone, averaging 31 points per game in that series. The rest of the league was forced to pay attention. By 2017, Lillard had become one of the most feared guards in the NBA. He averaged 27 points that year, but surprisingly, he missed the All-Star game for the 2nd straight season. It was a snub that stung. But instead of complaining, Dame kept grinding. Portland added Jusuf Nurkic, the Bosnian beast, to give them a presence inside. And while the Blazers returned to the playoffs, they ran straight into the Warriors' buzzsaw again, getting swept in the first round. The following season felt like deja vu. Lillard once again averaged 27 points and 6 assists, this time making the All-Star team and earning all NBA first-team honors. The Blazers finished 3rd in the West, looking poised to make a run. But instead of glory, they faced humiliation. The New Orleans Pelicans, led by Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday, swept Portland out of the first round. It was brutal. Dame was bottled up all series long. Double teams smothered him in the pick and roll, and he couldn't find answers. He averaged just 18 points on 35% shooting, including a miserable 30% from 3, with nearly as many turnovers as assists. Portland had home court advantage and still couldn't win a single game. Dame admitted afterward, "I was just hurt for like a month. I didn't want to watch basketball or nothing. I just was hurt." For the first time, serious questions swirled. Could Damian Lillard lead a team deep into the playoffs? Should he think about leaving Portland? But if there's one thing we know about Dame, it's that he doesn't run. Instead of asking for a trade or blaming others, he went to work. That summer, he obsessed over film, studying every possession of the season and every painful moment of the Pelican series. He hit the gym harder than ever, determined to grow from the experience, and it paid off. The next season, Lillard returned sharper, smarter, and more dangerous. He became one of the most complete pick-and-roll guards in the league. He learned to anticipate double teams and punish them, sometimes splitting the trap with quick handles, other times calmly kicking the ball to an open teammate before the defense even had a chance to react. If a defense dared to play drop coverage, Dame would simply rise up and bury threes in their face. He perfected the step-back jumper, turning it into one of the deadliest weapons in the NBA. One-on-one, he developed hesitation moves that froze defenders. And when that didn't work, he had the speed and power to blow right past them. He had turned a weakness into a strength, and the entire league felt the shift. Then came 2019, a season of redemption. Lillard and the Blazers entered the playoffs against the Oklahoma City Thunder, led by Russell Westbrook and Paul George. The matchup was personal, fiery,
full of trash talk and intensity. But Dame stayed cool. While OKC tried everything, traps, switches, aggressive doubles, he dissected them piece by piece. By Game 5, the Blazers had a chance to close the series at home. The game was tied in the final seconds. The ball was in Lillard's hands, the clock ticking down, Paul George standing in front of him. Everyone thought Dame would drive to the rim, but instead, he dribbled out near the logo, looked up, and decided he was close enough. So I was standing there looking at the rim, and I was like, this is a comfortable range. With one smooth motion, Dame rose from 37 feet and launched. The buzzer sounded as the ball splashed through the net. Series over, Portland wins. The crowd lost its mind, but Dame didn't flinch. He didn't smile, he didn't scream, he just stared, stone-faced, as his teammates mobbed him. It was the very definition of Dame time. Afterward, he explained simply, he took one little step this way, I crossed it back over, and I jumped to the right, and I got a clean look at the rim. I was like, that's going in. That shot wasn't just a game winner, it was a career-defining moment. A reminder that the two-star recruit who nobody believed in had now cemented himself as one of the most clutch players in NBA history. The Blazers went on to beat Denver in 7 games, advancing to their first conference final since 2000. They ran into the Warriors again, and even with Kevin Durant injured, Golden State was too strong. They swept Portland, ending the magical run. But for Damian Lillard, the mission was never just about one series or one season. It was about proving over and over again that no stage was too big and no challenge too great. From the streets of Oakland to Weber State to the bright lights of the NBA, the kid who once got laughed at for saying he'd be Rookie of the Year had now cemented himself as one of the most fearless leaders in the league. And if history tells us anything, it's that Dame time is never over. It's always just waiting for the next moment.
Damian Lillard's story is living proof that greatness isn't only about where you start, but about how much heart you're willing to put in along the way. From being a two-star recruit that few believed in to becoming one of the most feared clutch scorers in NBA history, Dame built his legacy on loyalty, hard work, and a belief that he didn't need to chase validation somewhere else. He could create it right where he was. His journey from Weber State to the NBA 75 list shows us that even if the odds are stacked against you, consistency, belief, and staying true to who you are can rewrite the story. Dame time isn't just about those last-second shots, it's about a mindset, about owning the moment when no one else will. And whether or not he wins that elusive ring, he's already cemented his name as one of the most respected and admired players the league has ever seen. But what do you think? Does loyalty matter more than championships in today's NBA? Should Dame stay and finish his career in Portland, or should he have chased a ring elsewhere? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I'd love to hear your take. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out our other videos where we dive deep into the most inspiring journeys in basketball history. This was the story of how a two-star recruit became an NBA superstar. And trust me, the next one will be just as powerful.